All right, welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. Very first off, you're probably going to notice that my voice is a little bit stressed. Maybe that's what it is. A little fatigued, a little bit worn out, I guess. So today my daughter had a cheer comp, and needless to say, I get a little bit excited when it comes to supporting my children. I guess is one thing. I get loud at football games. I get loud at basketball games. And even at cheer competitions, I get a little bit wound up at times, and even my wife has to give me the old nudge and said, "Will you calm down?" I'm an unofficial loud voice of the parent section, so yeah, I had to get a little bit rowdy today. So my voice is gravelly. It is not quite distinguished. It's rough. And I don't know if you can hear it the same way I hear it through my headphones. But it sounds terrible. So you're just going to have to deal with it. Hopefully, maybe it keeps you a little bit more focused on what I have to say, because this is a doozy, folks. This show is a doozy. By the way, welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. As usual, it's Steve here down in the fort, down in the dungeon, down in the bunker, whatever you want to call it, in this beautiful space I have. I got my patches, I got my stickers, flags. You know what I'm doing. So, like I said, today's episode is going to be a little bit important, and I only brought one topic up. I want to, and maybe we can branch off this topic, but there's just one thing I wanted to share with you guys in this episode. So it might be short, it might be long. I'm not quite sure where it's going to go. In fact, we're going to end up later on at some point, maybe next week or so. I got an invitation to jump on another podcast, and we're going to talk about the same thing. So when that gets to that point, I'll share with you some links as well, because it's nice to bounce this off of other people's perspectives and points of view, and get some more minds involved. So as I'm discussing what we're going to be talking about in this episode, I want you guys to really think about how you're going to react to this, not just your initial reaction to hearing the sound bites, to hearing some of my commentary, but I want you guys to make a plan and take action, because that's what this episode is going to require. It's a big deal, and it's something that a lot of us kind of knew was going to happen eventually anyways, but we're not sure where this is going to go. We can substantiate some of the information. We know that this person is a real person, that this person actually did meet with the people that he claimed to meet with. But from there, we have to make a decision of what we're going to do with this information. And I think it's vital that you start making a plan if you have not yet already. So what is this big deal that I'm talking about? Why is Steve making such a huge deal about this information? And what is the freaking information? Would you get to it already? Well, I at least got to keep you here for at least 10 minutes, but I know it's 3 minutes. Well, let's get to it anyway. So I'm going to try something I'm trying. Yes, another different kind of software. This should work. So let's see how well I do this here. Okay, it should pop up anytime now. There it is. So hopefully you can see what I'm seeing. Hopefully you can hear the audio that we'll be talking about. So this is Sheriff Jones. He's the Butler County Sheriff of Ohio, Butler County, Ohio. I'm going to let him do a lot of the talking. I think I ended up cutting out some of the audio. There's going to be a lot of sound bites from this specific conference, news conference, press conference, whatever you want to call it. It is a big deal. Maybe you've already listened to this. Maybe you're already making some plans on it. But if you haven't listened or heard or it's been all over the internet. There's a lot of YouTube videos about this already. I'm sure there's other podcasts talking about this already, but we need to share this information with as many people as possible. Now, I know, part of, I guess you should know, part of my goal as the podcast, as the Range Minded Podcast, not only is to bring you insights from the firearms community, from the 2A community, new products, whatever, training. We talk about training a lot. But I try to bring awareness to my audience as well. This is something that I feel is important, and I want to share with as many people as possible. So hopefully you can glean the information that we're going to be talking about. Hopefully you can make a plan. Hopefully you can have a conversation within your home or with your neighbors, because what he's sharing in this press conference is actually quite startling, and it should be eye-opening. I know I've said that a bunch already. I can't express it enough, I suppose. So Sheriff Jones here from Butler County, he met with some folks, I think it was the FBI in D.C., over some big things. Now, I assume, there are 3,000, 3,500, something like that, sheriffs across the United States. And I don't know if all of them were there. I'm actually planning on talking to my local sheriff to see if he went to the same meeting. I would like to substantiate some more of this information as much as possible. Now, knowing my sheriff, he probably won't share very much with us. I'm not even going to try and get him on the show. I think it needs to be a private conversation, just one-on-one. I would like to talk to him about this. Anyway, this particular sheriff said that some big things were brought to light in this meeting. He was a little frustrated that he didn't get to meet with the president or the vice president on this information because how big of a deal it actually is. And he's talking about imminent terror threats to the United States. Now, obviously, particularly, he's talking about who he's in charge of in Ohio and Butler County. But it sounds like it's a nationwide deal. So let's get on with it. So let's see. I got to make sure I got this queued up to the right spot. Okay. So he goes through this spiel. So we're 3 minutes and 15 seconds into the show, or into this press conference already. You're welcome to go back and listen to it. I will share the links, or you can just Google Butler County Sheriff on terrorism, and it will definitely pop up. So he shares his frustration of the things that he's the information he's been privy to. He talks, I can't remember if it's in the sound bites or before this, that he talks about how even his local county, his sheriff's office had a cyber attack by the Russians and the Iranians, which I think is actually later on. And maybe it's in this soundbite. I don't remember. Anyway, it is in this particular soundbite. It's crazy how much it is. Let's listen to what he has to say, and then we'll have some conversation afterwards.
Now, so you're wondering, I want everybody to know what I know. I can't tell you everything, but I want the public to know that we are in a terrible way right now. The United States, and I'm going to get to the local, the United States, we're on the defense. You can't be just defense and not have an offense. We have no offense. We're just defense. We're absorbing these attacks. We're in other countries. We're supplying them with weapons. We're supplying them with our treasure, our money, and we're not doing much back home. So with that in mind, we were also told that this is from the federal government 3 days ago, they're going to attack our elections, which they've always done that, just not the national. They're going to go into the locals. They encouraged us to talk to our local election officials.
So as you're hearing, he's talking about how they're going to interfere with elections. Now, we learned about the Russia hoax. Whatever side of the politics you may land on, there's always interference in every election. Always. Always, always, always. Now, what he's talking about is there's even interference that's going to be happening at local levels because they want the chaos. Interesting.
And be prepared as much as they can for cyber attacks. Even locally, you have to be prepared. We've been told that, again, they're coming here to do harm to us. And even in Ohio or in the United States.
Not just Ohio, but the United States. It hasn't happened just in Butler County, but across the U.S.
We're not going to be able to call and ask for help from the federal government. They're going to be busy. The military's not coming, the National Guard. When 9/11 hit, it was all the police and the fire. And they were.
All right, did you hear what he said there? I know there's going to be probably a lot of stopping and starting and shifting around in this video. Did you hear what he said there? Okay, there's the first important key in this information. He said that the feds are not going to be there. They're not going to be around. The cops are going to be busy. He mentioned 9/11. I think it's probably a little bit later on. He says, hey, they're going to be absolutely busy. You're going to have to do it yourself. There's the first key. Excuse me. Are you prepared to be your own immediate responder? I love that phrase, immediate responder. I stole it from Tom Gresham from Gun Talk, but he doesn't remember saying that because I shared it with him, and he said, oh, I really like that. Well, you should, Tom. I got it from you. Immediate responder. Be prepared to be your immediate responder.
We're in total organized chaos. The military had the skies. And I don't want Somebody asked me, am I like Doomsday Jones? And I said, no, I'm not like Chicken Little. I want you to know what I know. And if you don't believe what I'm telling you, that's okay. You can do what the Israeli citizens done. You can build a little safe house in your basement, and good luck. Now, getting to where we've been.
Okay. And there's another thing that he mentioned, and I hope you picked up on that too. Now you can choose just to your line of defense is just have a bunker and just hide in your house. And he pointed to the Israeli attack. Well, the Palestinian attack on Israel. What did they do? A lot of them just put faith in the government, put faith in the powers that be, and they built a bunker to be the safest they could be. Well, what did that do? That just allowed the Palestinians to go in and just mow people down. You saw the videos, you heard the content, going into concerts and just shooting people, kidnapping, raping, because the defensive setup as far as the national defense and the civil defense was so busy because it was such an overwhelming attack. They couldn't get to everybody. They could not get to everybody. So there's the second important thing you got to glean from this video. Are you going to choose to bury your head in the sand and just say, well, the safest thing I can do is fortify my house, build a safe house, nobody's getting in? Well, that's a bad plan. Bad plan. It's important for us to really pay attention to what's going on. And that's what's so important about Sheriff Jones here. I think it's it might be Sheriff Johnson. I might be saying his name wrong. Whatever, Butler County Sheriff, it's important for us to be paying attention to what exactly he's talking about. It's a big damn deal. And nobody's really paying attention to it. All right, let's jump to this second soundbite. Sorry, I have to click and drag. I'm not smart enough to edit videos on YouTube and share them that way. All right, let's listen to this next soundbite.
Here is we've got rifles in every.
Oh, let's jump back a little bit.
Help us and be our friends. No, they're not. They're trying to disrupt everything that we do.
Yeah, he's talking about
and this
coming
next
across the border. They're not our friends.
They're trying to do the same. So what we're doing here is we've got rifles in every police vehicle we have. We have what we call a go bag. We have extra magazines. And we're going to start training civilians. We've offered classes to train civilians. And we're going to start training civilians on what to do when disasters hit and emergencies hit.
Okay, I don't know who this sheriff is. I don't know where his political ideals lie. I can assume by how he talks and the things he's sharing with the public. But there's important things. There's another third thing that was important for us to glean from this information. Okay, number 3. What is he doing with his officers? Well, he's arming them with rifles. Normally, they don't really carry rifles in all their patrol cars, but they're all being issued rifles, as well as their sidearms. Additional magazines. Okay, we talk about in defensive classes. I think we've talked about it before in a defensive class. Once you choose to carry a firearm to defend your life, it's okay to have an extra mag. It's okay to have ammunition left over. I would rather have too much ammo than not enough. Okay, so that's why he's starting to arm all of his deputies. Sorry, again with my voice. All of his deputies with rifles, magazines, and what was the third thing that he offered them? Go bags. Now, I think it's important at some point, maybe later on, we'll talk about what to put in your go bag. Now, that's a very personal thing. I think we may have actually talked about this years ago, but that is a very individualistic thing. And we'll talk about that, probably not in this episode, but we'll get somebody on that can really share what it is that you need to keep in there. Now, you could probably jump on YouTube, do a quick search, figure out the things that you might feel important to you, but you got to remember that you have to have something for everybody in your home, everybody that lives in your household. Maybe you have elderly parents, and this might not be a good option. Like there just might be some difficult things. So I'm saying it's a very individual, personal thing that you have to develop a go bag. Also, something to think about. Now, I think I've shared that I spent a lot of time on Black Scout Survival's YouTube page, and he used to talk a lot about this. In fact, this is where I first learned about Sheriff Butler County here. But years ago, he used to just do survival and I hate to say prepper because it has such a negative term anymore, but really it is preparation items and not preparation H. just so don't get your butt all itchy. But we're talking about ways to get home, a get home bag or a go bag. Okay, so there's things you got to think about. There's things you can stage in your vehicle. There's things you can maybe stage in different parts of town. There's lots of options. Something you have to investigate and decipher for yourself what you want to do. Rifles, magazines, go bags. Okay. What I gathered that this sheriff is suggesting is not, I'm going to take all the arms away from my citizens and will protect them. No, what he's saying is we're going to do the very best that we can when it hits the fan. The problem is we're not going to get everywhere, so you have to do it. Then what did he say after that? After he's helped training his officers and giving them everything that he feels they need, he's going to train the citizens in his county. He's reaching out and helping people in the community to learn how to help themselves and each other. Get education, get training. Later on, I don't know if I'm going to include the soundbite or not. He talks about group tactics that he's teaching his, squad tactics that he's teaching his officers, his deputies. What did we just learn from the FBI recently? We talked about, I think the last episode, we talked about it, right? That you're not allowed to train with people. Citizens, it's a militia, and it's a problem, and they're developing these nasty groups. A few months ago, the FBI and the ATF presented some documents that indicators that you might have an extremist neighbor or whatever, right? So you have the Spartan helmet and all these other things, Molon Lobe or whatever. Here's the local guy doing his best to keep his community together and not create fear and panic. And then you see the feds pumping out this bullshit information that you're living in a community. If your neighbor has guns, he's an extremist and he's probably planning on taking over the government. Listen, folks, listen to me. Listen to me right now, please. First of all, do your own education. If you don't have to believe everything I'm saying, you can look up this dude's sound bites and figure out what for yourself what he's trying to say. Second, please, for the love of Pete, learn how to use a gun. Learn how to use a gun responsibly, and then teach your family, teach the people in your homes how to use a firearm responsibly. Train. Take them shooting. Teach them how to use sights. Learn all the characteristics of each platform that you're shooting. Understand the dynamics of a handgun and what it takes to control a handgun in different situations, or a shotgun, or an AR, or whatever. Please, for the love of Pete, quit burying your head in the sand and wake up and see that there's an imminent threat. That's why this sheriff is sharing this information, because there is an imminent threat. It is at our door. All right, let's keep going. I think the soundbite's actually quite long. So let's see. What are we? Soundbite 2? Yeah, we got a little bit longer here.
Naturally, we can't train the whole country. We can't train the whole county. We put this up online yesterday. It's full of it.
Listen to this.
We can do like 30 people at a time. We're trying to get it. And the organization that is doing that is Texas A&M. They're coming here. The federal government's paying for it. They're going to train 30 civilians
can't get up
on what to do when a disaster hits. 30 out of 400,000 people is not much. So they've set up a class to help with this stuff, to teach people. In our area, it's called CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, I think is what it stands for. If you have that in your community, take that class. I've taken it. It's been a while. I probably should take it again. It's great information to learn. It builds a community of like-minded people. It's the last time I took that class, there was like 6 of us, which is so disheartening. Here he is. This sheriff has presented classes, and they filled up in a heartbeat. People are hungry for this knowledge. It is not extremist knowledge. It is not domestic terrorist knowledge. It's stuff we need to be paying attention to, so when shit hits the fan, we're ready. We're trying to get more classes. Don't want to cause fear. Don't want to cause panic. But I want the public to be aware that you are under attack. Mm-hmm. And when they're attacking, they're trying to get our cyber system. We have a grid system. Butler County does, the whole United States. Hell, our grid system goes out when it gets hot.
Problem there. He'll talk about this more. Something else to think about in your home to fortify and keep it safe. Alternative energy sources, alternative heat sources.
So, and our grid system is from the 1960s.
Terrible.
And they're trying to attack our phone system. The Chinese are flying over with their little balloons. That's not to help us and help us do some weather direction. And all we're doing is we're on the defense. We're absorbing this.
He's right.
And these other countries that are attacking us.
All we're doing is saying, please stop. Don't do that. Nuh-uh. Please don't.
Overseas, it's a lot of drone attacks. Getting to drones. You know the technology that local law enforcement has on drones? Zero. We can fly drones, and most police departments and sheriff's offices have drones. We can't detect drones. Hell, they look like a bird in the sky. We can't make the drones stop. We can't stop them. When you see football games on TV, the national football.
This is the sheriff that I wish every county in America had. No BS, straight talking, straight shooter. Man, we need more of this guy. And I'm sure there's more out there, but they need to be more vocal.
Games, they call timeout to stop the drones. Hell, my grandkids have drones. Everybody has drones. We have no technology. The federal government doesn't share any of the drone technology with us. So what we're going to do is we're reaching out to the private industry, and we're going to see if we can get anything that can detect drones and how we can stop drones. Now, again.
Okay, so I love that, right? He's like, I'm not going to rely on the government either. They're too busy. They don't have the stuff. They're not willing to share the information to keep my county safe. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hire outside people. I'm going to hire citizens in my community that understand this tech and can help out to keep our community safe. Now, I hope more sheriffs are doing that. And I hope you get on the horn with your sheriff's office and call your sheriff and say, hey, have you watched the sheriff of Butler County, Ohio? And what's your thoughts? What are your plans? Were you in that meeting? Help us out here. Man, it's crazy. All right, I'm going to jump to the next soundbite. Let's see. I know it's crazy, right? This high-tech community that I'm running here. All right.
By foreign countries. You wouldn't think that a foreign country would be attacking us. The public needs to know we're being attacked every day. Now,
did you hear that?
People that are here to do us harm. Do we expect? I've been to the border 3 times.
Listen.
People are not just turning themselves in. They're actually called gotaways. And some of them are getting through with backpacks and packs. Now, are they bringing groceries with them? We don't think so. We believe the ones that don't want to get caught, there's a reason for that. We believe they're a good, strong possibility they're bringing something here to cause us harm.
You listening to that? Now, he's not just pulling this out of his butt. He was just in the meeting with the federal government. He's not just making assumptions here. He's sharing information that he gleaned himself from a meeting. Okay? Let's make sure I don't... oh, this is a bit longer of a clip, too. I apologize if you can't stand these clips. I think it's important that you hear it straight from the mouth of the man.
You have to believe that. China has safe houses in every state in the United States. Now, after I discuss that, I'm going to take questions. But there's 3 things I'm going to be asking the state of Ohio to do. On the offense, not just the defense. I've reached out to State Representative Sarah Crothers.
Okay, so he's not just doing it on his own. He's reached out to the reps in his state.
And I've reached out to State Representative Cindy Abrams, 2 state representatives. And I've asked them, I've instructed them, and you're going to receive a copy of it, that
I'm going to do what I can to see if I can find a copy of this. Maybe it's not available yet to the public.
There's 3 things I'm asking the state to introduce legislation on. One is the northern border. You think that we don't have a border, but we do. We border Canada. So what happens is the border security have been pulled, a lot of them, a large portion of them, quite a few of them, to go to the southern border.
Oh, boy.
So what happens?
We have a wide open northern border. It is so porous. We're busy worried about the southern border and whatever's coming across there, which we know is a dangerous, bad place. But our front door is left open.
When we do that, drugs are coming back across more the northern border. People are coming across. water, and land. With that in mind, I want you to keep in mind, I'm asking that there be legislation introduced and that the governor appoint a task force to do interdiction on people and drugs coming in across our waterways and our borders into the state of Ohio. Texas has done some of the similar. So the fentanyl has decreased by 40% from Texas and moved over to Arizona.
Oh, so wait, Texas with the razor wire that the government doesn't want up, 40% of that has moved to Arizona that has a more porous border, at least the southern side. What's coming across the northern side?
It's coming across. I was told 5 and 8 pills that are coming across and into this country have fentanyl in them.
5 out of 8
illegal pills. China helps the Mexican government.
No.
With the fentanyl that comes into our country. Again, they're trying to help us out.
Again, he's not just pulling us out of his rear end. This is coming from a meeting with the feds.
They're our friends. 5,000 people die a year in Ohio, fentanyl poison. 100,000 die a year in the United States. Our government is doing nothing to stop it. We're on the defense. Number one, that we have a border security task force. Number two, I'm asking that the 2 state representatives introduce legislation that will also form.
Where's your state stand on this stuff? Listen to what he's requesting.
A full-time, 24-hour-a-day cyber security, not part-time. Every department has their own. We don't communicate with anybody.
That's been a problem within each state government for years. No communication within agencies.
We're going to be attacked, which we're getting every day. I assume everybody is. I'm asking that these 2 state reps introduce legislation that we have one cybersecurity czar that's full-time, nonstop, 24 hours a day. They're attacking us all.
All right, I got a stupid ad. Stinking ads. Let's just let this play through here. Oops.
Very important. I'm asking that legislation be introduced like in Texas.
Too cheap to pay for ad blocker
pulled
stuff.
Over or stopped, state of Ohio, that there be legislation, the law changed, that you can be charged with a state felony charge of being here illegally, and you can be arrested and charged. Those 3 things. Now,
okay. So he's made a request to the state legislature, and it sounds like the state legislature has been the 2 representatives have been pretty positive and agree with the sheriff on this matter. It's important for us to jump on board and make sure our states are working on the same thing. Let's jump to this next soundbite. I got to slide the little cursor over here. And then we're going to listen to some of the question and answers, because that's where a lot of this intel is great. And then we'll have some conversations. All right, you guys ready for this one?
Questions at this point? Any questions you got? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Sheriff Jones.
Yes, sir.
It's an honor to be in your presence today. If given the opportunity to talk to the president through your organization, the Sheriff's Association, what are some of the things you would like to talk to him about?
The question was, what would I talk to the president about if I had an opportunity with him? I would ask him to please close our borders, help us out. It's not they're not staying in these border states where they're coming across. They're coming in. Every state is a border state. Please help us stop the Chinese from bringing this fentanyl through our border and stop all these cyber attacks. They're attacking us all. And
just imagine if the president actually sat down with the sheriffs in each one of these states and listened to them, had a conversation with them instead of hiding in the basement or making ridiculous. I just thought, well, we're not going to talk about that. Where's our leadership? Where is it? For crying out loud.
And we have nothing. We don't have any technology to stop it. We're on the defense. The FBI director said for every one person in our government, I want to repeat that, every one person we have in our government that deals in cyber, the Chinese, 50 to 1.
50 to 1 cyber. So we're not doing much work when we got 50 guys against 1.
And I don't know what we're doing. I assume we're just on the defense. Please help us. It starts with the border. We got to have our border secure.
Amen,
and
brother.
Us in the interior of the United States, we need help. We've had people that are dying every day. Everybody in this room, everybody that's listening, has a friend or a family member that's died of fentanyl. Next question.
What was the response like from Representative Abrams and Crothers when you talked to them?
They were excited to do everything they can to introduce this legislation and maybe more.
That's
and
great.
I told them it
Great
was
state
of the
support.
utmost importance. We need to get on the offense. And if our government's not going to stop it, we got to do it here in our country.
Did you hear that? Okay. He makes it sound like the feds are not really interested in doing their constitutional duty. So he's saying we got to step up as states, as local governance. We got to do something.
We got in our county. I'm going to ask the Butler County commissioners. Every department in our county and in Hamilton County, everybody has somebody that does cybersecurity. It's not 24 hours a day. They do it 24 hours a day. They have an incentive. They do it 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
And they have hundreds of thousands of people attacking us every day. So I'm going to
Across
ask the
the
Butler
country.
County commissioners if they can get some kind of a task force or appoint one person that's in charge of this, and we all can get together and share information, how we can stop this. All we're doing is defense. We can't do offense from this level, but we can sure do defense. And it's just, if you throw the dart at the board enough, you'll hit a bullseye. And everybody's being attacked cyberly, and it's not to help you. It's to cause you grief. It's to cause you not to be able to dispatch. And then they want money from you. They want a ransom. We didn't give them a ransom, so they released all of our information. And the FBI, you know what they told us? We don't recommend ransom, but some people do it. So, next question.
Okay, I want you to listen to this. The third question in this string of questions. This is important. If you listen to anything in this entire show, I want you to listen to the question and the response. Okay?
You mentioned that you're going to have some conversations with the Butler County Commissioners, but have you already shared with them what you learned in DC?
I've shared.
So the lady asked, have you shared with some of these other sheriffs and folks in the area what you learned in DC?
Shared with one of them what I've learned, and I'm going to meet with a group of them, and I'm going to tell them what I've learned, but they already see that by what you're doing here today, and the public's going to see it. We're going to put it out. We want everybody to know what we're doing, and everybody, we all need to be on the same page. We can't just have, I think the state of Ohio has a part-time person, a part-time group, and they meet on occasion. You know how much shared information we get from that? Zero. We should all be on the same information. I'm going to ask the commissioners to form a committee immediately and appoint or hire somebody. That's all they do is security, cyber security. Somebody that can do it, not somebody that's working in the parking garage and parking cars and they get appointed to that job. We want real people. We're meeting with experts in the field as we speak, and we're trying to share resources and gain more information. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but I want everybody to know in our country that I'm doing everything that I can. I'm one sheriff of 3,300 sheriffs, but I have a very large mouth, and I want everybody to know what I know. I want you to know what the FBI told us just 2-3 days ago. This is pretty fresh information. And if you don't think that we're under attack, we are.
My name is Chris, and when I was 19 years old, I was diagnosed.
Stinking advertisements. All right. Oh, crap.
The same people that
I hit the wrong button. All right, let me jump. We were probably around here somewhere. Stinking advertisements. How dare you? See where we're here.
You know how much shared information we get from that?
Zero.
People, we're meeting with experts. If you don't think that we're under attack, we are. And we train for mass shootings in schools.
Listen to this.
We train for mass shootings in the malls, but we don't train for multiple shootings or multiple attacks. And the National Guard's not coming to your community to help you unless it's a flood or disaster. You're on your own for about 7 days. And
okay. Another key important thing to hear. Okay. if there's a massive attack, things get shut down. He mentioned that they'd already been attacked by the Russians, and the Chinese shut down their network for a while. No dispatch, very difficult to communicate. They went all the way back to the paper era, which I know some of you are old enough to remember, but there's a lot of folks that realize now we have to deal with the electronics that we have now because it's so convenient. We're just programmed to do that. Now he's saying if this happens, if we have another massive event, possibly similar to the one that they saw in Israel, you're going to be on your own for 7 days. 7 days, a week, if we're lucky. Question for you right there. Can you and your family be supported, self-sustained, and safe for 7 days? Again, this is not just some dude pulling things out of his butt. This was with a meeting with the feds. 7 days. Can you sustain yourself for 7 days?
And if you remember 9/11, which a lot of you don't, they were on their own. And the police is your last line of defense.
Okay, this is a sheriff. Now, we've been programmed or used somehow socially perceived that the cops are the first people that we call when there's a problem. What did he just say? The police are your last line of defense, not your first. You are the first immediate responder. You're the one there dealing with it. You are the immediate responder. The cops may be there, and it may take minutes, hours, days. Prepare yourself. Now, I'm not saying this is I'm not trying, just like the sheriff said, he's not doing this to create fear and panic and chaos. He just wants the information out.
Police and fire. We're training right now for hazmat. We're the police, and we've been training for hazmat. We have hazmat equipment. We belong to the Hamilton County hazmat team, and we're training for chemicals because we have people that are driving trucks in this community and all over the United States that don't even speak English. They can get driver's license. They can take the test. I don't know if they're here legally or not. So I give you that information. It's a lot to fathom what's going on, but I am asking that you put this information out to the public.
Yeah.
The class that we had were full. It filled up last night, and we could probably do 5,000 people in that training. People want to know what they do when your cell phone doesn't work. If you've lost your cell phone in your house, you almost puke because you can't find your cell phone. Imagine not being able to use your cell phone, and imagine not being able to do dispatching. No electricity in the winter. I mean, not to scare people.
Yeah. Do you live in a cold climate? How are you going to keep your family warm? Like, that's something I worry about. I live in a cold place. How am I going to keep my family warm and protected?
It's not to alarm you. It's to arm you.
Sheriff, there's the analogy of see something, say something to all Americans, especially in the Ohio regions, Hamilton County, Montgomery County, and the like. See something, say something. Is there a number individuals can call if they see something very unusual?
There is, and we're going to give that to you before you leave. There's a number to call, and we had an incident a week ago, and we depend on the public. We put information out all the time. We communicate with the media. You help us get that information out when we're looking for people. When people are murdered and there's mass shootings and we're looking for suspects, we have to determine, can we put that out? Should we put it out? We need to put it out.
Can you see where communication and community really come in handy or come in clutch? Why it's so important? This sheriff in his county, he says we rely on the community. We rely on the information that they're given. This is why, as a community, we talked about this a few episodes ago, why I feel it's so important for us to come together, for us to be really be a community, a family. We need the information. We need to share that information, and we need to keep each other safe and close. Not just your family, your community, because that information is irreplaceable.
And we depend on you to put that out. And if you do see something, pay attention to where you're going. Pay attention.
See something,
to
say something, right?
Pay attention to who lives next door to you. And people are here to do us harm. And that's not a scare tactic. They come across the border, and they're not coming across and all turning themselves in.
Yeah.
These are people that are coming across to cause us havoc. You can't just be poor and walk across the border.
Listen to
because
this.
you're from a poor country. The drug cartel controls that. They will kill you. You have to pay, either be an indentured servant or your family.
Did you understand what he just said right there? He said the narco system controls the border. Okay, you cannot just walk across the border without paying some kind of a toll to the drug cartels. They have that on lockdown. You can't just walk across the border. Somebody has to be paid. Somebody has to have some kind of a transaction made. Now, that could be financial. That could be, he said, an indentured servant. What I think he really means is slavery, sex slavery, child slavery, whatever it is. Like, there are crimes being committed beyond your wildest imagination on the border. The Mexican, I think he says this a little later on, the Mexican government has no control anymore. It is all a narco state. It is all the cartels making the decisions and allowing who comes across the border. They're not our friends. They don't give a damn about what happens in the United States. They want to see us crumble. They want the money. That's all they care about.
They will kill you. And the Mexican government is not our friends. They're not here to help us. They're not in charge anyway. It's the drug cartel. Next question.
What are some of the basic bare necessities people need to do to be prepared?
Another great question.
If they
Basic
can't
things
go
to
get
prepare.
fast,
Here,
what are some of the
I'm
things?
going to tell you some basic things you need to do to prepare. Just like when the power goes out or there's a tornado, they always tell you to keep enough food and water in supply. And this isn't doom and gloom. This is common sense.
It was common sense. That's the only downside is this was something that I grew up pretty poor. Okay. So when I grew up in this little old house, it wasn't too small, but it was an old farmhouse in southeastern Idaho. Power outages were very common. This is how old I am, or at least how backwards the community was when we first moved to this area. We had a party line where we shared a telephone line with like 5 or 6 other homes in our area. And we had to wait to use the phone until somebody else was done. Or the neighbor, if they wanted to be really snoopy, they would listen to our conversations. That's how old I am. Oh, maybe just hear my daughter came home. I don't know where I went with that. Why I even went there. Common sense, to just common knowledge to prepare. Food, water, shelter. Those are the simple things we need to prepare for and keep in our homes.
You might want to look at, as far as your phones, if they're working. If you don't have electricity, they have batteries, but they're only good for so long. You might look at solar charging devices. You might look at some foods that you can get.
Keep it simple.
That you can just mix up, like when you go camping or survival. We're not to that point, but we need to be prepared, and you need to look at it. And you need to, most people would freak out without their cell phones.
Yeah.
And if you can't dispatch the police, our towers are down, they're hacking our communication system. I mean, I'm not making that up. And they're trying to hack yours. They want us to be in chaos. They're trying to hack our elections, local elections. If local elections have issues, they always talk about the national, but they want you to feel it in the heartland. Really scare the hell out of you. Next question.
You mentioned some of the training that your deputies are doing. Is there other additional training that you're looking to implement because of what you've learned?
Yes, some of the training is the
Question was, is there any additional training or other training the sheriff's office is going to try and implement?
drone technology. We're trying to get that on our own because the government won't give it to us. So we're trying.
Did you hear that again? The government doesn't care. Isn't that disgusting? They don't care.
To get the
They're, like he said in the beginning, they're busy funding other wars outside of this border, outside of our country. They're not worried about the enemy within.
There, we're looking at maybe squad training. We train for school shootings, what to do when we get there, or mall shootings. We're going to look at things a little differently when we get there. Maybe squad training. We're going to ask the government if they can share with us, but they're kind of busy. They hire the wrong people. They're just on defense. They've hired like 35,000 IRS agents. Well, good for them. I guess they need more tax money. We need infrastructure help in
Yeah.
our country. There's going to be an additional 100 million people in 25 years in the United States, almost a third of our population. We're not building bridges, highways, the infrastructure. We're not doing anything on our grids, nothing. So we're doing lots of training, and some of this is not my responsibility. I'm not in charge of the U.S. government. I'm not in charge of the state of Ohio. But these state representatives, we do a lot of things in our government, and we fight over silly things. We done they tried to do an impeachment on this Mayorkas, or however the hell you pronounce his name. And there's a lot of important things to do, and
He's
nothing
100%
happens
right.
if they do that anyway. All we do
Playing
is fight
games.
over silly things. We need to get together and get some things done to protect our country, most importantly, for our safety. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you went to school and you remember that, water, air, food, safety, right up at the top, in the top pyramid. And we are not abiding by those safety things. We are in defense, not one piece of offense. Our military is on defense. We're absorbing drone attacks. And before we attack back, we call them and tell them, hey, we're going to be there in about a week. You might want to empty your warehouse out. We need help here locally. You do, we do. That concludes the press conference.
All right. So hopefully that came across well. Like I said, I tried this new software. We'll see if it works. So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? I think we need to be having a serious conversation about this within our community. Not just the 2A community, but your community, your home. If you live in an apartment building, you need to have a conversation with your neighbors. Like, this is a major deal. Like, we've kind of known and felt like something's coming for a long time. And we always get shunned for that. The people in the 2A community or the prepper community, we get made fun of. Like, why do you need a gun? The government will take care of it. The cops, you're wasting your time. Nobody needs a gun but a terrorist. That's the problem. Is we're letting all these people in that we don't want in. And they're getting guns. They're preparing for things that are going to hurt our country. And it sounds like what I get now, this is what I get from this conversation. It sounds like what the feds are worried about, pseudo worried about, is something similar to what happened in Jerusalem or in Israel when the Palestinians attacked Israel. That's what I glean this is going to happen. I can only assume that there are, well, we know, we've seen lots of videos of known terrorists coming across the border. I have had conversations with federal agents. Oh, they're not Asians. Federal agents communicating with me. Yeah, they have known terrorists that have crossed the border. The feds lost them. We know they're here somewhere. Only one thing can come from this. Only one thing can come from allowing an open border, allowing drugs and arms and crazy people across the border. Only one thing can come from this. There's a lot of countries that hate the United States. There's a lot of countries that want to see us knocked back to the Stone Ages. The Sheriff Jones mentioned the infrastructure, the electrical grid has not been really, it's old. It's from the 60s and 70s. Very little of it has been fortified. It only will take 10 strategic attacks on certain substations across the United States to shut down the grid. Can you see a problem with this? Am I just a crazy person? I don't think so. I'm sure there's a bunch of you saying, oh, Steve, you're overreacting. This is ridiculous. This is why I can't stand to listen to the show half the time, is because you're just fear-mongering and saber-rattling. Friends, this is coming from a law enforcement agent who met with the feds in a big meeting. The feds know that there's an issue coming, and it sounds like they didn't really want a lot of people talking about this. I know my sheriff hasn't said anything about this. So what do we need to do to prepare? Get training. Okay? Stand up to keep all of your rights. First Amendment, Second Amendment rights. Okay? Those two are obviously fundamental. They're the first ones on there. You need to be able to speak up. You need to be able to protest. You need to be able to assemble. You need to be able to petition your government. You need to be able to defend your life and your family against all enemies, foreign and domestic, including tyranny. Okay? Israel is one of the most armed countries in the world, not like the United States. But they're trained, okay? But they fell into this state of where the police forces will keep us safe, the government will keep us safe. We don't really need to keep guns in, so we'll turn them in and we'll just trust our government. Look back at the October 7th attack in Israel. Look back and see what happened. We are a much bigger country than Israel. We have just as hostile of people coming across our borders. They may not be coming in on paratroop and whatever, powered parachutes and bulldozers, but I guarantee they're planning a strategic way, and they're going to hit every state simultaneously. I don't think anywhere was going to be particularly safe. What that means for you as a dad, as a mom, as the responsible neighbor, as the business owner, is you have to be vigilant. You have to dedicate some portion of your time learning a skill, learning how to defend yourself, jiu-jitsu, judo, karate, edged weapons, kali, I don't know, anything, something. Learn how to defensive drive in a way or offensive drive in a way that you're confident and comfortable to drive in any condition. I know that sounds silly. Learn how to garden. Learn how to some defensive tactics with your neighbors. I know right now that sounds like, oh, that's extremism. Why is the federal government trying to push so hard from keeping us to defending ourselves? Why? It almost seems complicit, doesn't it? That's a dangerous road to go down. Dangerous road to go down. So we'll end it here. Okay, I want to hear from you guys. Please comment on the videos. Comment on the podcast streams. You can email me, stevez@rangeminded.com. rangemindedpodcast.com, excuse me. stevez@rangemindedpodcast.com. If you want to jump on our website, it has all the links. You can DM me on any of the social media channels. You can find those links on our website, rangemindedpodcast.com. I want to hear from you. I want to know if you've contacted your sheriff, your state legislators, your governor. If you're doing something in your neighborhood that's fine, I'll keep your information safe. I'm not going to share, hey, Billy Joe from Tennessee said in his neighborhood they're doing this. I'm not going to do that. But I want to know if there's things you're doing in your community to keep your community safe. What you're doing in your home to keep your family safe. What your plan is when alternative things need to happen. Are you planning on a garden? Do you have a way to get water? Is there a way to defend your home? Do you have different tiers or levels or barriers of home defense? Do you even think about that? Or do you just trust that the feds are going to take care of everything? I think it's pretty obvious to tell between the Floyd riots and all that stuff from a couple of years back. It's obvious that they're not going to do anything. They can't do anything. Let's be honest. On a mass attack, they will not be able to do a damn thing. So who is it up to keep your community safe, to keep your family safe? It's up to you. Get training. Get competent, knowledgeable training. If you don't like the gun class you're taking, if you feel like you're unsafe at that gun class, pardon me. If you feel like the class that you're taking is a safety risk or the guy teaching it's a moron, walk out, leave. It's okay. I understand you're going to lose $150, maybe more. But I would rather you have good training than crappy training that's going to get you killed. Get to know your neighbors. I remember as a kid, my dad knew everybody in our area. We didn't live in a neighborhood. I just told you we grew up in a really rural area. But my dad knew everybody within 10 miles, 20 miles of our house. He just had a way of getting to know people. It's okay to talk to your neighbors. It's also okay to have a disagreement with your neighbors, but figure it out. You're big kids. You can figure it out. I would put if we were looking at Cooper's color codes, I would say there's a lot of the United States that's hanging out in white right now, where we should be in, at the very least, yellow, but maybe we should be bumping up to orange. God forbid you hang out in black, because that's it. You're done. Get out of the white. If you don't know what Cooper's color codes, I'm not going to talk about them right now. Google Cooper's color codes. Google it. Okay, I'll tell you. White, completely oblivious to the world. You're living in your own community or your own little universe. You don't give a damn about what's going on. You're not paying attention. Yellow is you're kind of paying attention, and you know that things are not quite right. Orange is you have a heightened awareness and something doesn't feel right. Your spider senses are going crazy. You know something's not quite right. I think that's where we need to be. If you're in red, if red is the thing, that means we have to take action. That means we either have to engage, we have to escape, or we have to do something. Okay? Cover, whatever. We have to do something. We have to at least be in yellow. If not, we better be bumping to orange. There's obviously stuff coming down the pipeline. If this sheriff feels like he needs to share this information with his citizens that hired him to do his job. Okay, that's it. I appreciate you guys. Again, if you don't like what I shared, if you have a comment about what I shared, this is going to be on YouTube. This will be obviously on the podcasting platforms. You can leave a comment there, okay? Leave a comment. If you want to direct message me, it's just easier for me to send you to the website, rangemindedpodcast.com. There's a link to all our social medias. You can DM me from any one of those platforms. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. This is serious stuff, and we need to take action. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys that take the time to listen to the whole show. I hope you paid attention. I hope you gleaned something from the show as well. Take somebody shooting. Develop your community. Learn to stay safe. I love you guys. All right? Peace out.